Okay, so we're going to bring up our next speaker. Our next speaker is all about business. Turn to the person next to you and say business. Right, this is all about business. We're going to talk about profitability, sustainability. We're going to talk about there are lots of grants and ways that you can actually access money to help you with your business, and you can get that right through 21st century. I saw this young man speak maybe 12 months ago. Did a fantastic job. He's not a professional speaker, but he's got passion. He's got a lot of substance. He's a great guy, and let's give him a good 21st century welcome. Give it up for, he goes by the name of Arj. That's it. That's all. That's all you need to know. All you need to know is Arj is in the house. Look at him. He's an ex-bodybuilder or rugby league or boxer or whatever. It's just all, you do your thing, man. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Thanks, Ray. So guys, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Jamie's accountant. So I'm an external accountant to Jamie. And through Jamie, we've come up with obviously his business is all about growth and all about sustainable growth and being able to actually manage that over a long period of time, 10 plus years. And through that, we looked at some of the strategies, and he wanted me to speak to you about the pitfalls and how to avoid those pitfalls in you maybe starting your business or continuing your business or even growing your business to a new level. So I just thought I will speak about 3 different things: growth in itself, and about strategic alliances and your partnerships, and planning and compliance, and how the fact that you're all based in Victoria means that this financial year, there's a Victorian state government initiative that you can take advantage of to actually assist you in all of these things. So let's get on to growth. Everyone who's entrepreneurial really wants to grow. Entrepreneurs love sales. Entrepreneurs want to, their main thing is always looking at the top line sales. They want to churn because they feel busy. It's very much a creative, energized sort of field. What happens when you grow is that you've got to have the correct type of growth. Growth for the sake of growth is actually wasting time. If you're running your business and you're just growing and you have no plan for supplying and you're just doing the sale and you have no system, you're just going to end up in trouble. So one of the biggest things is that make sure your growth is profitable growth, right? And I talk about how you can measure your growth. And what is the measurement, the key measurement of your profitable growth is actually how much money is left over in your bank account. So everyone knows what a profit and loss is. So a profit and loss is a statement that gives you the money that comes in and the money that goes out and what's left over at the bottom. So the money that comes in, the money that goes out, and what's left over at the bottom. In simple terms, what really matters is what's left over at the bottom. It doesn't matter how much money you bring in. If you spend all of it, there's no real purpose to that growth. So there's all sorts of measurements. So when you start reading and you're in an entrepreneurial environment, you will have a look at your business and you go, well, I've increased my customer base. Yeah, I don't make much money, but we're turning over a lot of money. Yeah, we're losing money, but that's just a transient thing. It's only for a few months. That's what entrepreneurs do to make them feel good, make themselves feel good, because you're just essentially lying to yourself, right? And I mean, I started from scratch and all the great stories and everything else, but if I knew what I know now 10 years ago, I would have had a much more measured way of running my business or growing my business. So that's the essence of it. You've got to work out your plan and you've got to work out what's left over. And you run essentially on your cash flow, because the biggest problem that you will face when you grow is the fact that you will be undercapitalized. Guaranteed you will be undercapitalized. So one of the biggest things to work out, right, is that you have to have bottom line profit, right? If you can't see the money ending up in the bank account, the growth is dangerous and unproductive. Because unproductive, why? Because your time. You're in business, you're putting all your time into your business. I put every single minute of my time towards my business, pretty much. Now, I don't want to waste that time. You don't want to waste that time. You're here because you value your time. You really want to maximize what you get out of me speaking. So what's the most important thing is that you measure everything, you're aware of your cash flow, and that you end up with money at the end of the day. I'm really big on simple strategies, and this is an aside. I tell people to be mindful of their suppliers and to pay suppliers on time. Pay the tax office on time. Pay your compliance on time. Or if you can't, if you're one of those people who is bad at keeping money in the account and you've labeled yourself as such a person, pay them in advance. Put $100 in every single week. At the end of the year, you paid $5,000 in. So there's so many different strategies to being able to tackle what can seem, if you haven't looked at it, what can seem like a big issue. One of the biggest things that will happen when you start your business is that you will need suppliers. It may be a product business or mine is a service business. You need suppliers, right? So you'll need suppliers, you need a network, you need to work out how you're going to sell. And who are your partners? That becomes really important. Who's your supplier? What's your supplier agreement? Are you giving out a personal guarantee to a supplier? All of these things are incredibly vital when you're growing your business. You've got to get it right when you have the time to get it right, because once you explode and you become something that's running without you, you'll notice that a signature that you made 7 years ago can come back to haunt you. So be mindful of who your suppliers are and what your relationships are. Two critical things is that your relationships will be your competitive advantage. Who your suppliers are, will they give you terms? Will they look after you? Will they sell to your competitor? These things become critical components in your relationships. Bed them down early. Because early in the piece, there's less to lose than after a couple of years of trade. Two really important relationships, your accountant and your banker. Accountant, because you need advice. You need to be kept in line. You need someone to give you the counsel that you need. And your banker, because everyone will underestimate how much capital is required, including myself. Everyone will overestimate the sales and underestimate the capital. Just be mindful of it. Just when you do a budget or a cash flow or you are writing down your plan, you will overestimate your sales and you'll underestimate how much money you need to execute your plan. So be mindful of it. I would suggest you have a best case, worst case, and a middle ground. And see how you perform on all three different metrics. If you're selling a product, right, you might be from Avon to anything that you sell. You got to be mindful of how the strategies work. I noticed that in product businesses, there's always going to be a volume discount for buying in bulk. But you've got one commodity that's in short supply, money. So don't buy in bulk, buy in quantities that can be sold. So always buy stock more frequently rather than buying in large quantities. If you're in a product business and it's not going well, first thing to do, the first offer you get on your stock is the best offer you will ever get. All right? So if you're in a product business and it's not going well and you have all this stock left over, if someone gives you an offer, take it. The first offer is always going to be the best one. Believe me. All right? If you're in a service business like I am, all right, takes me, the last person I hired, I've got 168 staff in 5 countries. Last person I hired in Melbourne took me 69 interviews. Not me personally, but my operations manager took 69 interviews to hire the correct person. But that person's fantastic. So hire slowly. Take your time. Make sure that you have a job description. You understand what their tasks are. That they understand what their tasks are. Spend time initially. Translate that job description into a key performance indicator, KPI analysis document, so that when it's review time, you have something to fall back on. And there's this famous saying, hire slow, fire fast. Hire with care and then hopefully you'd never have to fire. But if you do, get rid of him. Your culture is vital. If someone isn't going on the same journey as you are, remember, you have to make the tough decisions. One of the main fronts that I find that businesses are weak in, and I consult, my business consults from 0 to about 430 million being the largest one in revenues. So we see a length and breadth of businesses, large number of franchisee businesses, and the best franchise business I can talk about is McDonald's. We service a lot of licensees. And the reason why they're the best franchise business, and you will never see a McDonald's licensee go under or liquidate, is because of one reason. They have to report their financials to head office by the 9th of the next month, every month. So if you're a McDonald's licensee, you have to report your set of financials, which is a profit and loss, a balance sheet, and a few other sales-based reports, to head office by the 9th of the next month. So what happens is they've concentrated on preparing these financials on a monthly basis. So regardless of whether you're like me and you're immersed in numbers, or you're a creative artist who's selling something that is very creative, you've forced yourself to have a look at those numbers. You've forced yourself because you've got a discipline of producing a set of financials for someone else every single month. And that's why they have become such a powerful and successful franchise business. And that reporting and attention to getting your back of house done becomes extremely important in this sort of market. The market's tough. The economy's tough. Collections are tough. So you really need to have the systems. If you're starting off and you have the product and you have the sales and you know how to sell and you've got the marketing alliances, one of the fundamental things is to work out the back office. How do you bill? How do you do your collections? Who is doing your collections? What's the backup plan? How often do you send your invoices, statements, debtor calls? When do you stop credit to someone? What are your credit terms? Do you have a credit template? All of these things become very, very important. The back office systems must be correct to capture the information so that you have accurate data, and this data will allow you to make a correct decision. In any case, you will always focus on sales because you will look at sales as the key driver, and you'll always be sales oriented. You've got to work out who is actually going to be doing the selling. Is it you? Will you be selling? When I started, I used to be on every line item of my business. I used to spend a lot of time in the accounts department because I'm the accountant, so I thought I should spend a lot of time in accounts. I have let go of accounts, and I still watch the accounts department. I see one mistake out of 400, and I go, I would have done it better, and I wouldn't have made that mistake. But the point is that if I kept doing that, I can't grow the business. I can't do everything. So you got to let go. So in my office, I don't do a lot of things, but that allows me to do what I do in multiples. It allows me to leverage what I do and do more of it. So you've got to work out how and who will be your key driver. How do you incentivize people, salespeople? Especially things like commissions and working out margins, pricing. They become extremely important concern. Because what you need to do is when you have a pricing matrix, work out what you end up with before you give people commission. Do you pay people commission on cash basis, as in when you receive the money? Or are you going to pay them commission on the fact that as soon as they sign someone up? What about clawbacks? What if your supplier claws you back? Does the person you paid commission have to pay you back? All of these become concerns for you. Your compliance. Over the last 6 months, compliance has become quite a strict issue. Before July of this year, a company or a trust and the director had a complete separation in relation to things like GST, Super, and pay-as-you-go, which is the tax withheld on your employees. Over the last 6 months, this separation is non-existent. The laws have changed where my staff super is my personal responsibility. The ATO can bankrupt me if I don't pay my staff super. There's no gap, there's no director's penalty notice, there's no 21-day notice. No, I can't get away with it. So you've got to be mindful of it, and that's why I say work it into your cash flow. Your planning is vital. That's why my biggest thing in whatever I do is the fact that I put a lot of time into planning. Implementation can be extremely quick, but the planning phase, where I get the business plans, the strategic plans, I put more focus on the numbers than I should, but that's because of my background. You can do a holistic plan with your sales, your marketing, your backups, everything, and that's what I would spend time on. The more time spent planning, the less problems you're going to have in the long run. One of the things we're doing with Jamie is that he's offering, the whole idea of this, me speaking to you, was the fact that because of the state of the economy, the Victorian state government's offering a grant for strategic plans, business plans, and business coaching, which can be accessed by small business people. And this grant exists in the 2013 financial year. So one of the things we're doing with Jamie is that we are facilitating this grant so that you may be able to access some high-end planning resources and business coaching resources and executive coaching resources, which will allow you to get all of this information at a discounted value, because there's about $18,000 available to each business from the Victorian state government, which you can access at any time. So in finishing up and summarizing my piece, be mindful of what you do. Just don't grow for the sake of growing. Make sure that you have money in the bank, that you continuously are profitable every single month. I have a very simple measure. We bank more money than we spend every month, on month. The next thing, your alliances, suppliers, accountants, bankers, access to capital. How much capital? What's the cost of capital? Make sure you have those things bedded down. Finally, planning. Get your business plans done. Make sure you have an answer for your compliance. If you need to learn something, learn it or outsource it. Get someone who's better at it. And all of this accessible through 21st Century Accounting. The girls at the back can take inquiries, and you can sit down with someone like me or a couple of girls, and they will help you with further information. Thanks very much.